50% of the marketing is just complete waste, but the problem is we don't know which 50%.
Yes. Yeah, it gets even worse. It is 80% that's wasted, only 20% is actually working, you know. Okay, so we're talking about the Pareto principle here.
Yeah.
That 80% of the consequences are due to 20% of the actions.
Yeah.
Or whatever you would formulate. So what you want to know is, in a company like ours, what would that actually mean? Because if we found out, we could get a lot of time, you know, doing other things or improving. Question is, what 20%?
Yeah.
How do we measure it? How do we measure it? But the useful 20%, does that mean that you can invoice it? Or are there other sort of benchmarks you could use here?
Oh, yeah.
Like, for instance, we are making a lot of videos.
Yeah.
Which we can't invoice. So is it useful or isn't it?
Exactly. Is it time well spent making these videos? Or should we just stop and focus on doing work for clients?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
But the thing is, if we don't do these videos, we might run out of clients. Now, we haven't got any particular clients of these videos yet, at least, but it might be that these videos could help us grow in the future and secure the stream of clients in our backlog.
Well, that's what we hope anyway. Yeah. And of course, you could say that if this principle is universally a universal principle, which also covers, like, for instance, a company, then we should keep on, you know, because it would pay back at some point. The question is, again, what is useful? Because we could be sitting at a cafe talking to each other there, you know, and sit here on a computer. And would it make a difference? Or should we, as you said, should we be sitting here programming instead? I think that's at least what it tells you is that the work you do might be useful, even though you can't measure it in terms of how much you can invoice it right now.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we can learn very much more than that.
No. So I'm struggling a little bit with the question of value creation for the business. Do I create the most value by developing applications, or does me writing code actually cost more than hiring someone younger that can write the code and only having me as kind of a designer for that code, telling them how to write the code and letting them doing it instead, and having me focus more on the overall design of the application and perhaps doing more videos?
It reminds me about a story, an old Danish story, in a sort of hillbilly district. They found out, you know, much dismay that there is a bird trampling around in the corn, you know, and they're afraid that it's going to ruin that much. It will ruin the harvest. So they want to frighten it away. So they got this big fella and said, you go and you frighten this bird away. But then they think, oh, but he's too big. He's going to tramp down much more corn than the bird actually will. So they decided that they'll make a sort of a stretcher for him. Then 8 men carries him into the field, you know, So he's sitting up there and shouting at the bird. Now, if you have a situation where, for instance, when we're working with Dataflex, that one man can work, alone with a project. So you decide to be the program manager.
Yeah.
I would say that you would probably be superfluous. You be not needed. So what it comes out is that two men is doing one man's work, and essentially one of the guys is sitting on the back of the other, with a whip, saying, "Get going, get going." I'm not sure that if I can see the productivity of that. But again, of course, if we had enough work, to get 10 people working,
Yeah.
then I think you're all right. But then you should probably consider doing some programming management instead of actually programming.
Yeah, it's the balance there, of course. So then we need some more guys or girls to actually write the code, and I could focus more on the dialogue with the customers, and also communicating with new customers and doing videos to reach out more. Then that would be more valuable. But at the moment, you're probably right that the value I can create in our business today is writing applications.
But that's it. I mean, and the guy who's going to you're going to hire, he's not going to do it for free.
No, but at some point we need to hire the first person.
Well, we already hired you, didn't we?
Yeah.
So we're talking about the next person here.
The next person, yeah.
Yeah.
And we also need to spend time finding new clients.
Yeah, I don't think that you could put it up like that. I think that if you look at it company-wise,
yeah,
you would say, okay, doing work that you can invoice is probably useful for the company because it enables us to continue being a company, paying our expenses and so on. So that's probably useful. But what about the rest of the time? Because we're not sitting here coding 100% of the time.
No.
So what should we do in the rest of the time?
Well, right now we could actually sit and code 24/7.
Yeah. We'll probably have to very soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's say that we made a few courses in building applications and Dataflex and some related topics. And those courses were sold and brought in more money than we got by doing application development each month.
I would say that's highly unlikely, actually.
Yeah, but just hypothetically, if we do that and kind of exploit the Swedish and Danish and Norwegian market so that more and more are interested in using Dataflex in a completely new way, and with the new Dataflex framework, that's actually something that could be done in my eyes. Then we would have a lot of people all of a sudden wanting to learn Dataflex.
We had a company within Dataflex community some 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So it goes back, goes back to the 80s actually, who sold Dataflex licenses and make courses.
Yeah.
And they didn't do anything else.
No.
But the situation was different at that time than it is now. One of the very big differences was that commercially, Dataflex was one of the only tools that was actually available at that time. which is not exactly the situation right now. There's a lot of competition, but they exist that way. They trained new data programmers, they sold licenses, and everybody was happy. So what you do when you think about the 20% you should do to influence 80% of what's going on, you should also, of course, consider is what's your situation?
We had a video recently where we talked about the types of videos we made the last half year. And you could say that about 20% of those videos were kind of the best kind of videos for our target audience. And if we double down on doing those kinds of videos, then we might grow even faster.
Good point. But what we also discussed at that in that video was that the point is that we'll have to put a lot more effort into it.
Yeah. Yeah, and those videos were put some extra effort into as well.
Yeah, they were, precisely, yes.
A famous quote from one of the US merchants and forefather of marketing, John Wanamaker, uttered 100 years ago, 50% of the marketing is just complete waste, but the problem is we don't know which 50%.
Yes. Yeah, it gets even worse. It is 80% that's wasted, only 20% is actually working, you know.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is working? Yeah. I think we should probably find out a way to measure that, and then we'd get rich.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
That is kind of the key for every business, I think. What is the value you create for your customers, and who are your customers? Because when I look at our videos as well, one of the goals of the videos, especially the casual conversation videos, is to reach a broader audience than we normally reach, because we usually reach the DataFlex community quite easily because we have them in a newsletter, they follow us on social media and we follow them. So that's kind of our close network. But the casual conversation was an attempt, or is an attempt, to reach beyond the DataFlex community and see if we can find some new audiences that might be interested in what we're doing, that we could inspire to kind of have a peek at DataFlex as well once in a while. So just looking at the numbers and number of views and interactions for the casual conversation videos and say that, oh, they are not that good, it might just be that we haven't gotten them in front of the right audience yet.
How do we find out?
That would be asking some of our existing customers who are not directly related to DataFlex, for instance, if they have noticed or if they are following / watching our videos. If they find any value in them, then we have to kind of provide that extra value that makes them want to share this with their colleagues as well. And then that's when you start to see the growth, where you get feedback from your audience and you can adjust to provide more value, answer questions and stuff like that. So I think that's what we have to look into a bit more going forward.
Yes, I think we need to look at the results we've got so far, and to see where to go on.
And another thing we could do, if we have some content that is popular, is to play some ads for that content. And so pay for ads for users to look at our content. And if they like it, then we can see, because then we can target those ads towards the audience we want to reach. And if they look at the video and they don't like or follow, then we know that we're doing something wrong. So that could also be a way to test the content that we have produced.
Yeah.
So until next time, try to do only 20% of your work and produce the same amount of results.
Oh, I'll try hard. Only to work 20%. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's at least that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do that. Okay.
See you.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.